going on, everybody? Welcome back to another page of the playbook. This is Nate coming at you guys with another team in the 32 NFL offseasons in 32 days. Yesterday, we talked about the Seattle Seahawks. Today, we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Gold Fine and Bowles, lawyers for the injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their two things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309-673-5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlaybookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video. Buccaneers fans, right here. Another video where I'm putting my hand up and admitting I was so wrong on your team last year. I'll be honest, I thought Bucs 3-4 wins tops. Honestly, looking at that roster, I mean, how could I not? It was Baker Mayfield you're relying on, and an average at best defense. I don't know. I did not see talent anywhere. And then they were sitting at 4-7 on the season. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Probably don't win much the rest of the year. Tank it out and see what kind of pick they can get. Only for them to go 5-1, finish 9-8, win the NFC South, and then beat reigning NFC champions Philadelphia Eagles and knock them out of the playoffs. I mean, what? That was a complete shock to me that they pulled that off. I did not see any of those things happening last year. I thought that they were going to be terrible. Honestly thought they had a shot at the first overall pick. I really did. And then they win their division and make the playoffs. Just absolutely crazy. Hats off to them. Can they build on that and return to the playoffs this upcoming season? And can they defend their divisional crown? Let's talk about their offseason, the moves that they have made. We're going to start right here with losing offensive coordinator Dave Canales, who did take the head coaching job in Carolina. It is tough to see someone like him leave because it's pretty clear he got the best out of Baker Mayfield that Baker Mayfield has ever looked. He had Mayfield playing the best ball of his entire career last season. Super impressive work by him. So I wish him all the best in Carolina. We'll see what he can do out there, but it leaves a hole for the Bucs to fill. And they replaced him with Liam Coen, C-O-E-N. Don't know how to pronounce it. He was Kentucky's offensive coordinator twice, a year, and then in the middle of that year, so he did it once, went to L.A. He was Sean McVay's offensive coordinator for one season, and then went back to Kentucky for a season. So kind of weird. Like, was he? I don't remember. I don't know if he was fired from L.A. or what happened, but it's going to be hard to replace Dave Canales, right? Canales did so well there last year. So this is a negative move for now. We'll see what the new guy can do, but Canales showed us that he could have this offense looking dangerous. So we'll see what they do. Players lost. They did unfortunately lose starting center Ryan Jensen to retirement. He was awesome for them for several seasons. Hard to lose the middle of your offensive line, this offseason, so they'll have to replace that. And then they also let former first-round pick Devin White leave for cheap. He had regressed in this defense a good bit, so I really do think a change of scenery is probably the best thing for him in his career. I don't hate them letting him walk. And then they also let longtime pass rusher leave for Shaq Barrett, leave for Miami. Fins up. That's what I was thinking about when I tried to talk. It does leave them pretty thin at the edge position, though, so they're going to have to address that in free agency and in the draft. Players added. It seemed like several other teams this offseason, like re-signing their own players was really their main objective here. And their free agency class outside of their own players wasn't much to talk about outside of maybe Jordan Whitehead, who they did bring in for 1 year to start opposite Antoine Winfield Jr. in the defensive backs room and safety. Speaking of Antoine Winfield Jr., Bucs made signing him a priority, and they gave him a market-setting extension. 4 years, $84 million to Antoine Winfield Jr., which I think was well-deserved. Honestly, he's one of the best safeties in the league. They drafted him. He's their own guy. You cannot let players like that out of the building. That's a guy you hang on to. You've developed him. He's your player. You got to pay him and keep him in-house, so I love that. And they also gave quarterback Baker Mayfield a big-time extension. 3 years, $100 million. At face value, I don't like that, right? You hear the name Baker Mayfield, and then you see 3 for $100. It's like, whoa, pump the brakes. But played great last year, and then you actually look at the contract. It does have an out after one season. So if this year, without Canales, it looks bad, see ya. That's it. Off the books. We're done with you. So I like that. I think that it was well structured. And so it feels like a low-risk, high-reward sort of thing. He comes in, plays great. Okay, awesome. We've got a very good quarterback on a cheap contract for 2 more seasons. Or he comes in and sucks, and he's out the door. So it feels like a win-win for the Bucs no matter what, no matter how you cut it up. And then they also paid Mike Evans, another guy who also just absolutely deserved the money. 2 years, $41 million with an out after this season as well. So they're setting themselves up where if they are great, the contracts are cheap, and if they're bad, they can get out of them. I think that that's good business. They have given themselves outs in these big contracts, at least these two. There's no out in Winfield's contracts. You don't want one. So based on that, based on the players added and lost, I'd say the period's a net even, right? They only added Jordan Whitehead. Maybe even a slight negative. I'm going to go with a slight negative so far in players because Ryan Jensen's hard to replace. So is Devin White and Shaq Barrett, especially at those positions. And we're just looking at free agency here. I'd have to say with a small net negative. However, they can fix this with the draft. So let's talk about it. First round of the draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took a personal favorite of mine in offensive lineman Graham Barton out of Duke. He can play all 5 positions on the offensive line. He's currently slated to be the starting center, a position he did not play in college. Currently slated to be the starting center. Played left tackle at Duke, projected as a guard for the NFL, guard and center, currently lined up to be the starting center day 1 for Tampa Bay. His film was so fun to watch. Nasty blocker, loves to finish the play. He is maybe the best finisher in the entire class. Very good technique. I mean, there's just nothing to dislike about him. He reminds me of Peter Skoronski from last year a lot. I mean, this is a lock-it-in 10 to 15-year starter for your offensive line that provides the ultimate versatility. He can play any of your 5 offensive line positions. You lose a guy, okay, Barton can play there if we need him to. Obviously, he's going to be a great center, so I wouldn't move him, but you could in a pinch, right? He's excellent, and he will replace Ryan Jensen this season, so I think that was a fantastic pick. Their second-round pick, Chris Braswell, edge rusher out of Alabama. I was okay with this one. I had him as a day 2 guy, so it kind of fits in there. He's not the best at pass rushing, right? He's not the best pass rusher. He's really solid against the run, though. Really good at stacking blockers and peeking into the backfield to find the ball and making plays on it. And he's not the most big, he's not the biggest guy either, so he's pretty good at that for his size. He's high energy, though. I'm interested to see him as he develops. I think he needs to develop a few more counter moves as a pass rusher because it seems a lot like if his first move doesn't win, he kind of backs off a little bit and just tries to play whatever's happening on the play and just sort of gives up on rushing the passer, which can be a problem. So I think he needs some coaching. And then I do think they got a steal in the 3rd round in Tyke Smith, safety out of Georgia. Jordan Whitehead's a 1-year Band-Aid. This guy's low-end ceiling is like Jordan Whitehead, whereas his high-end ceiling is someone like Antoine Winfield Jr. Like, he has all the tools to be an excellent safety in the NFL. Reminds me of like the Javon Holland, Brian Branch type, where he can play slot corner year 1. He can play safety year 1. He's like an ultimate defensive chess piece. So I really like that pick in the 3rd round. I think that was a great pickup for them. I'm a big fan of drafting players that are immediate impact guys. And just those 3 picks right there, I mean, they needed an interior offensive lineman. Boom, Graham Barton, one of the best ones in the entire draft. They needed an edge rusher. They got one with some upside, some potential in Chris Braswell. I like that. They needed a DB to be the future of the safety position that can also play slot corner and provide them some versatility in the back half. They got that in Tyke Smith. While maybe I didn't care for their other picks as much, those 3 picks were excellent picks, and that brings the whole draft grade up. Overall, for their draft, I am going to give them an A- for it. So a very, very strong draft, one of the better drafts for sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I just absolutely love Graham Barton as a prospect. So overall, this offseason, you can tell the Bucs are really trying to ride the momentum from last year into this season by bringing back pretty much the entire team. And players they lost, they replaced through the draft. Made some risky moves with the cap, right? You're paying Baker Mayfield a good chunk of money, but you can get out of it. You're paying Mike Evans, who is 31, although he's guaranteed to get 1,000 yards because it's just what he does. But you're paying him, so we're going to have to see. And you're trying to recreate the magic that Canales put together, and he's not there anymore. That's a question. Can they do it? Can they repeat the magic on the offensive side of the ball? We're going to find out. What happens if Baker regresses? What happens if Mike Evans loses that step finally and struggles to get separation? And then what are you doing? I mean, are we talking massive rebuild? We might be if this year doesn't work out. They're almost all in on this season working out because if it does, great, we can try it again. Like, this year works out, okay, we're set for a couple of years. Let's run it back. This year doesn't work out. You're getting out of those contracts. You're getting rid of Baker Mayfield. You're getting rid of Mike Evans. And you're going to have to rebuild. But all that being said, from a personnel standpoint, I do really like what they've done. In this offseason, I'm going to give them a B+ for their final grade. That's all I've got for you guys on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason. We'll be back tomorrow with the Tennessee Titans.